What's up, brother? So are we
Uh,
live yet or no?
oh yeah, we're live. We're always live.
Yeah.
We are
Nice.
always live. I don't do any. I'm like Joe Rogan, not getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars, but I just jump right into the conversation.
Love it. Like
You
your
ever
videos.
you ever watch him? He's like the big guests are always like, "Are we live? Are we going now? Shit, I shouldn't have said that." I was like, "I'll edit it out if you say anything bad. I'll edit out the that won't be our official start." But
Nice. Nice.
what's up, brother? How you doing?
Good, man. Been a busy morning. Worked out early this morning, which I saw you at the gym. And then I already had several appointments up until now. And then I have several appointments after this. It's a busy day.
Yeah, well, thank you for squeezing me in here.
Yeah, man.
We'll buzz through this. I met, for those that don't know, obviously nobody knows. I met Jake at the gym officially, but he has his kids training at the same place I train, Peaceful Warrior Jiu Jitsu in Dana Point, California. Um, I actually taught his. Well, I think his kids taught me. I was trying to teach the kids class, and I just saw the parents over there laughing, and I'm like, I don't think I'm doing this very well. And then we officially met at the gym, and
Right.
yeah, now he's the only guy I talk to at the gym. I don't talk to anybody else but my man Jake over here. So thank you for being on
Yep.
the podcast. He
Yes, sir.
getting a little bit of feedback. Um, you are a realtor, but
Yep.
when I look into people and I try to see how I introduce them and stuff, I go to your Instagram page and you're a real estate broker and owner. But I've talked to
Mhm.
you and gotten to know you a little bit more. You're an entrepreneur. You're a former gym owner, former
Yep.
trainer in martial arts, a family guy, a spiritual man. There's so many things than just a bio that you can read on Instagram or Facebook or anything. So I wanted to get that out there. That's a pretty impressive bio. But I'll let you introduce yourself however you want to introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I am 39 years old and I have been an entrepreneur for the last 18 years. I've started and created about 12 different companies. About 80% of those absolutely failed, but I learned tons of great lessons in the process. 20% were a success. I've been in fitness, I've been in marketing, I've been in real estate, I've been in e commerce, I have had a nonprofit. I have been a professional athlete, professional golf, and I've kind of jumped all over the place. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that I've done too much and I've needed to do less. So now I'm just focused on real estate. I'm a real estate broker and owner of Barrena Real Estate Group. Our office is in Aliso Viejo. That's where I'm at right now. Team is pretty small. It's boutique. It's about 13, but growing. We have agents, primarily agents, office manager, a marketing team, and I'm excited because 30% of the industry is on the way out because of volume. Volume is down, and there's a lot of scarcity out there. But for me, it's a great opportunity to be the new guy and take some of that market share, which I'm
Mhm.
excited about.
Yeah. We'll talk a
Yeah.
little bit about real estate, but I really want to press
Yeah.
down on the point that you've had 12 businesses. And what I
Hmm.
think most people, when they start a business, oh, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to drive around a Bentley. I'm going to live on a yacht and blah, 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 and drive the
Hmm.
fancy car. They don't understand the
Mm.
failure rate, right? So talk to me
Yep.
about the failure because I've had businesses, I've had failures. I understand how frustrating it is, but talk to us about the failure and what kept you pushing on and kept motivating you to succeed and finally get those ones that were successful.
Yeah, so for me, that's a simple answer, but it's also a long answer. So I was just asked this from a client this morning that I was talking to on the phone, and she's like, "Wow, you sold your last gym. That was 6 months ago, and that was a win for me." And she's like, "It's very surprising that you're out of the fitness industry. I was a coach for 17 years, owned three separate gyms, and had great success there. You have a gift and a talent in not only training, but just that sort of business." And she said, I just want to know where you're at. Are you in a good place? Did that break you? And I said, no, not at all. What drives me really is my faith. At the end of the day, I have a mission statement, and it's to build a legacy of faith, love, and entrepreneurship. And what drives me is the fact that I want to finish strong, but the finish line is unknown to me. I was born June 1st, 1983, but I don't know my death date. And I do know that it could be later this afternoon, it could be tomorrow. So what's most important for me is that I'm constantly trying to finish strong for my legacy, for my kids. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, and it's really important that when they look back on dad and what dad did, that it was of value and service to other people. I've always led from a place of nonprofit, but in profitable businesses or profit businesses, profit driven businesses. So for me, failure is a part of the game. You have to be a good loser before you're a great winner. And I feel like I know a lot of entrepreneurs, ones that have had much greater success than me in terms of finances, and they've made millions. And I know some that have made billions of dollars, and they failed a lot. And even once they reached that pinnacle of financial success, was I think success is pretty broad. It's not just financial. We always chalk it up to be financial, but there's a lot of different forms of success. But in the financial world, they then realized that once they reached the pinnacle, they started losing again,
Mhm.
and they had to get back to that place of winning. So winning is a small part of what we do. Even if you're someone like Tiger Woods, I love golf. I know golf stats. He won at a 20% clip. 20%, so 80% of the time he was losing. So I think losing is a part of the game. You have to learn how to get tough skin. You have to learn how to push past the negativity. Not everyone's going to agree with you. That's fine. As long as you know who you are and your mission, then it's going to be very easy to push past all that.
Mhm. I like what you said, 2 things. 1, what do you think about the people who are getting trophies for just showing up? Because that's not teaching them how to lose
No.
with dignity and honor. I
Mm.
think it's a complete shit show. I think, yeah, it sucks to lose, but you don't know it's how bad it hurts or how bad it motivates you to keep going if you just get a trophy for showing up. Um,
Yep.
so I just had my son had a surf contest this last week, and I try to be because he wins some and he loses some, and losing some he just because he doesn't care. He's just out there to have
Mm.
fun, which to me is
Yeah,
like, yeah, I don't want to be soccer dad on the sidelines, but I'm like, man,
for sure.
he's not even looking where the waves are. Like I know he knows how to surf. Like it's frustrating. My wife's like, Josh, just relax. He's having fun. I'm like, well, winning's fun too. Let's but
It is.
then I pull myself back and go, okay, you know what? It's not all about winning. He's out there. I'd rather be sitting there on the sidelines of the beach and the coast than sitting at a soccer field all for 8 hours. So, but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that. And also, I want to say, everybody judges success differently. You said you had some guys that are millionaire, billionaire, had all the money in the world, and I know a couple of those as well, but they don't know their kids' names. They're gone so much, and that they
Mm.
just put so much into the business, so much into success.
Mm.
I need this, I need that, all these
Yeah.
materialistic things, and then their kids, they don't even know who they are. The nannies are raising them. The kids are at home speaking Spanish, and it's just it's mind boggling to me. So it's good to hear you say, it's not just about money. Yes, it's we all want that, cherry in the sky and get all that, all those accolades. But I think to me, and it sounds like to you as well, the family structure is just as important for me. Like if I can't be at my kids' tournaments or this and this and that and whatever, then that to me is a failure. And I'm pretty hard on it on myself for being like,
Yeah.
if I'm not around for my kid, then I'm doing something wrong. So it sounds like you're kind of the
Yeah.
same way with family structure as well is just as important as being a successful business person.
Yeah. One of the things I've been doing recently on Instagram and Facebook with my social media private presence is to basically share a little bit more of what I write in my journal. I hate journaling. I journal every single day. I really hate it, but I believe it challenges me. And going back to that failure or that discomfort aspect, is that I'm always trying to put myself in a place of discomfort.
Hmm.
And I do this thing where I'll check my life and I'll kind of scan through and say, what in my life is serving me in a sense that is challenging me? So making me feel uncomfortable. And journaling is that. And one of the things I journaled just this morning, which I shared, was top 3 goals for 2023 and then top 3 struggles. So I'm one that's very candid with who I am because I feel very grounded in who I am, and it's I don't waver on that. So, in the fact that I was sharing these intimate things, um, I got some responses from that. But I say that because in sharing my struggles is trying to develop strategic business with family life or family dynamic. Those two I've learned in my life in the last 18 years of being a business owner, as well as in the lives of entrepreneurs I've seen around me. It's a struggle. Um, you almost have to have this champion's mentality where you're focused on one thing in order to be really successful at that one thing. But for me, I've determined a long time ago that if I die poor, that is financially poor, but I have an outstanding relationship with my kids and wife, absolute success,
Yeah.
opposed to the latter. When you look at other people, they, like you said, they have the money that they can't use beyond the grave. You know, they're
Mhm.
dead. They're giving it to their kids or to charity, and there's some good things to do there, but does it really teach them anything about their father or about their parents? Does it really teach them the skills actually necessary to do it themselves? I rather be poor or have money and tell my kids, I'm not giving you a dime, go out and do it yourself. There's an investor that I listened to several years ago, and he had said he set up a trust for his kids, and they're allowed to use that trust for specific things up until they're basically graduated from college. So whether that's a BA, a master's, a doctorate, whatever it is, after that they're cut off. And he's a multimillionaire, so cut off, and they have to basically find their way. And sometime later in their life, I think it was something like late 60s or 70s, they would then start to be able to use the trust again. But I thought that was beautiful because you got a wealthy guy that's teaching his kids. So at some point, I'm going to cut you off and you got to do it yourself,
Yeah.
which I mean, I want my kids to learn all the lessons. That's why I think social media is beautiful, regardless if it's going to be there when my kids are older. But I want them to be able to look back at my life and go, if I'm still here or not, and go, wow, dad really tried. He put in the work, put in the effort. So it's important to me.
I like that. Another thing, I don't know where I've heard it, you probably heard it too. When
Yeah.
people are on their deathbed, if they had everything in the world, let's say Warren Buffett's on
Yeah.
a deathbed, do you think he's gonna ask for another million or another billion? He's gonna ask for
Yeah.
more time. He's gonna ask
Yeah.
for more time to spend with his family or to spend with his loved
Yep.
ones anywhere. And so I always take that to heart is like, yeah, I wanna be successful. I'm looking at my whiteboard. I have all these goals. I have all these benchmarks, but I'm gonna take my kid to school. I'm gonna pick him up. I'm gonna go to his games or whatever, jujitsu, surfing. That to me and a husband as well, like go to date nights, go to things and
Mhm.
make my family and my relationship, because I believe in relationship capital, make those just as important as striving to get all the money and get all the successful benchmarks that I have. So I think that
Yeah.
goes hand in hand. With your journal, because I've heard other people say this, you start a journal. I've tried to start a journal. When you is the journal like self therapy, just getting it out there, or do you go back like a week or a month or a year later and review it and see how much you've grown? Or what's the core principle of writing the journal? Because I've always wanted to. I just just along with everything else on my walls, like I got to do this, I got to
Sure.
do that. But what do you get out of it?
That's a good question. So I think people put too much pressure on themselves when they hear journaling and say, man, I have to do so much. That requires more time. I'm a avid believer that you can always make time if it's important to you. But I think you need to be strategic with that time. So, one of the things that I do every single day, irregardless of how I feel, and there are some days that, because of circumstances, that maybe my wife wakes up and says, Kingston has a very high fever. That's my son's name. Got to go to the hospital. There's random things like that. But for the most part, I get up every day. I pray, I meditate, I read, and I journal. That's my routine. It sounds like a big routine, but it's not. I try to keep it in a 30-minute window, so it's really tight. There's days I'm feeling it, so it's more like 60 minutes, but for the most part, that's the first thing I do. That's kind of like my coffee, along with having coffee, so it's like a double shot of coffee. It definitely jacks me up, wakes me up, and then I see you at the gym. But But with that being the case, journaling, I do it different every time. Right now, I'm on a kick where I open the journal, I'll put the date at the top, and I'll say goals. And I think goals fundamentally are very important for you to put in front of your face every day. I had a director in college that said it's one thing to think something, it's another thing to actually say it or be able to write it down and articulate what you're thinking. So, that going hand in hand, I think it's important to write down your goals. And with that, I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. I'm not like, man, I got to write a novel here. It's because I got a lot of goals. I could literally, probably like you, being an entrepreneur, I could sit there for days, hours writing goals, like pages. I could write a book on goals, and those goals change almost on a daily.
Mhm.
But today, the goals were, what are my top three goals for 2023? And I kept them general. So this was today's goals for me. It was kind of a theme in my head to be better. So it was to invest in my kids, to be a better father. It was to cherish and love my wife, to be a better husband. It was last one to do less and to basically be a better leader slash business owner. So I kept them general. You can dive in and get really specific on that, but that right there, that took me 90 seconds. It was just boom, 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 boom. After goals, I'm doing thoughts. Like, is there anything on my head that is festering? And you kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. And I think this is an entrepreneur thing, but I am also extremely hard on myself. I'm always trying to straddle that line of family and business and all these other components that I think self development is key in order for you to be a successful individual in life, not just in business, but in life. So then I wrote down my top three current struggles, and I had about those earlier, and basically my top three struggles. So the journaling this morning probably took me 3 to 5 minutes. It's always different. I don't put a lot of pressure on myself. I was on a kick for like 3 years where I just simply told myself, I will write one line for three separate categories. I said, number one, what are my thanks? So thanks, one line. So it can be one line of thanks, one sentence. That's it. Boom, 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 whatever my thanks are. Because again, you could take a rabbit hole down that. What are my goals? And then what are my prayers? And again, it was just one line, and it put pressure off me because it was really hard for me to journal at that time. And I think I was trying to journal too much. Because, like I said, I've been doing this, I've been into self development and bettering myself for the last 22 years,
Mhm.
ever since I changed my life around July 15th, 2001. And I was trying to write these novels. So I said, all right, let's just make it really simple. I'm going to write three separate categories, one line each of those three things. And it definitely was able to take the pressure off and just say, man, I can journal in 3 to 5 minutes. Some days I get on a tangent and it might be like a page, which takes me 15 minutes. But again, by taking the pressure off myself, it makes it a lot easier for me to actually perform. Kind of like a
So
professional athlete. I
yeah,
was just going to say, you're a professional athlete. You want to perform at your highest absolute level. It doesn't matter if it's jujitsu, it doesn't matter if it's professional golf. I was also a semi-professional skateboarder. Doesn't matter what sport you're playing, you're trying to be at peak state on the day that you need to make it happen. And typically that comes from a place of confidence and humility and an ability to rest on your skills opposed to putting all the pressure on yourself, and it's like you feel like you're about to pop and blow up, you know.
I feel like that every day, so maybe I should start journaling. But I is the self-development in the process of getting it out of your head and onto paper? Or is the self-development part going back and looking back, "Okay, a month ago, I was here. These were my 3" like, where's the like, for you, where's the help or the progress? Because 'Cause I'm trying to think if, like, I've done some stuff where I've written it down, and then I randomly, when I'm cleaning out my computer or something, I find I'm like, "Oh, that was pretty cool. That was 2 years ago." But is it like,
Yeah,
do you make it a habit to go back quarterly or somehow look back and see where you were? Or how does that work?
yeah. So I would definitely say I definitely have some KPIs, and that I look back and say, okay, am I actually progressing or doodling things down? But I think everyone's different. And I really do think every individual, even though some of us might be similar, we are 100% different. Our genetic makeup is different. So, what drives me for journaling specifically is kind of like the David Goggins theme, which is discomfort. It's really just that. It's just,
Yeah.
this makes me feel uncomfortable. And I really don't like this. Kind of like, I naturally have a different body clock, depending on the season, but my body clock right now is probably 6 o'clock. And that feels pathetic to me. 6 a.m. feels late. So I'm getting up these days at 4 or 5 o'clock. And that makes me feel good because one of the boxes I have to check for me is discomfort, just doing things that make me feel uncomfortable. I don't always want to, back to your point, go on a date with my wife because we just got in an argument. I don't always want to date my kids because they're crazy and maybe it's just a very exhausting day and it's not the right time to go on a date. At least in my mind, I say that.
Yeah.
But I do those things because it challenges me and I know it's the right thing to do.
When you wake up at 4 or 5, because I'm like a rooster. I'm up when the sun comes up and I go. My question is, at night, or do you have green tea? I'm trying to take green tea matcha my wife gave me for like, because I don't drink
Yeah,
coffee or caffeine. That's my
got
caffeine
it.
is the green tea. But they joke that, "Oh, dad's ready for bed at 6:30 at night because 'cause I'm up so damn early that it's like, okay, oh, if we have
Yeah.
dinner plans, Josh, you wanna take a nap because 'Cause we're gonna be out till like 8:30 or 9." It's a joke, it's an ongoing joke, but I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Damn
Yeah.
it, I need to," like, I had my blood work done, and I told my doctor because my son and my wife were there with me, like, "How do I get that?" I'd love to sleep in. If I could sleep in till 8, I'd love that. I've never done that. Well, I did when I was a kid, but how do you feel when you wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning? How does your day look, and do you have that energy and high level all day long?
It depends on where my passion's at. If my passion is on point, I I think that doesn't matter how little sleep you get. If you are fired up about what you're going to do, it's kind of like being a kid or even an adult for my wife and you're going to Disneyland the next day, you're extremely excited about going to Disneyland. You could have 2 hours of sleep because you couldn't go to bed, and you're like, I'm fired up, let's go. And you might crash and burn at the end of the day, but um, it depends. I mean, for me, I love the feeling of getting up early and feeling like I not only got to do my morning routine, but got to work out and got a little bit of work done. And it's 8 o'clock, and I've already been up for 4 hours, and everyone's just getting started
Yeah.
and I feel accomplished. So,
Yeah, that's what I do. I get most of my stuff done. I mean, you see me at the gym.
yep,
I come home,
yep,
try to walk the dogs real quick, get the boy up for school, all that stuff, check some emails, do all that. To me, that's my peace time. Like, that's like,
yeah,
no, there's no distractions, there's no nothing. It's just I'm done. And I try to do that
yep,
at night a little bit too, but there's, my son's bopping. For some reason, he gets more hyper when it's time for bed. I think that's every kid. And
yeah,
I'm battling that, but okay. Yeah, I like that. I like the self-help, the self-development, and it sounds like we're on the same page
yeah,
there.
yeah,
Let's jump into your, real estate. Um,
yeah.
you said that's relatively new, right? How long have you been in that?
So I've actually had my license since 2016, and then I got my broker's license and started my company back in 2020. So not new, but what's new is in that whole time, I've had multiple businesses. At one time, I had 6 different businesses going on at once, and these were small businesses, but nonetheless, it was 6 different things going on at once, and that's a snare or a vice that has happened in the past where I've learned I've done too much at one time.
Yeah,
Some of those were successful too, and then the majority of those just required a lot more time and, like I said, lessons with that. But as of January 2023, I am 100% focused on real estate. So this is the first time in really 7 years, 7.5 years that I am 100% real estate. I still gave real estate 100% effort in the past, but it was only 30% of my time.
mhm,
And I know the numbers in the nation and in Orange County. Typically, the average agent does 2 to 3 transactions a year. That is actually the average. So, Orange County, it's about $68,000 a year. And in the States, it's between, depending, but 43 to $53,000 a year. It's not that much. I, on average, have done 10 to 15 transactions every year ever since I got in real estate. So I've done well more than the average agent. That's what intrigued me, though, is the idea of, wait a second, I'm doing this for only 30% of my time. And I believe there's a huge market cap in this industry and real estate. There's so much potential of what you can do. We do sales, but there's other things that you can do on the creative side. So as of January 2023, it's 100% real estate for me.
Yeah. How do you feel, kind of going back to entrepreneurship?
Mhm.
I have 3 things going on right now, and on my whiteboard, I'm looking at it now, I have lines of like, "Okay, this is what I'm doing for this company, this is what I'm doing for this one, and the other one is not my company, but I'm involved with it."
Okay.
Um, what do you say to people? Because I've had other mentors who say, "Focus on one thing. Only focus on that 100% of your time." And it's like, "That's great, but there's other investing opportunities, there's this opportunity, there's so many different things going on." What is your thoughts? And obviously, I think I know if you had 6, balls up in the air going, what do you say to people who say focus on one thing, give that all to your, 100% of your attention?
Yeah. So I would say I'm new to that bucket, but I'd say I believe that you should probably focus on one thing, and that is depending on the individual. So for me, again, I think we're all genetically different. So it's really unfair for me or for anyone else to tell someone what they need to do in their life in order for them to be successful. I think that we need to take all these success principles and apply it to who we are, to who our mission statement is, to what we want to accomplish in our life, and then go do it. For me, it makes sense looking at all the things that I've done and the energy and effort that I have poured into each bucket. And I do think at my age, 39, I don't think I'm old by any means because I plan to live well past 100 unless I die tomorrow. But I think that when I was younger, I had a little bit more natural energy. And as I've gotten older, I've had to learn, because I've done this for such a long time, how to stimulate my mind and my body in a different way. It wasn't like when I was young, I'm like, man, I'm going to be an overnight success. Well, I've been doing this for 18 years. And once you do it for 18 years, you go, there's a big journey and a process involved with each thing you jump into. So because I am the personality that I am and I have a lot of energy, I've been pitched multiple ideas over the years. And 18 years ago, 15 years ago, they all interest me. I was like, oh, that sounds good. Oh, that sounds good. Oh, that sounds
Mhm,
good. But now as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? I just want to pour 100% of my energy into one thing. And honestly, it's really kind of opened my mind to new and different ways to go about real estate compared to looking at everyone else and what they do and the conventional path that they take. I'm trying to do things different on the real estate side, but I don't think I could have gotten to that place if I was doing multiple things.
mhm. Okay, we'll jump back into real estate. Since 2016, we've seen a crazy ride, peaks
Yep.
and valleys. 2 years ago, there was tons of inventory. Everybody was asking two, three, $400,000 over asking price. And now we go to where we're at now. Interest rates are high. What, like, how do you meet those challenges? How did you survive the ups and downs of the marketing industry or the real estate industry?
So, facts is that we've been in a housing recession since June of 2022. That's a fact. There's no way to debate that. We have been tracking data in real estate and in various other industries for roughly 100 years. And when you look at the numbers, we're in multiple recessions. So, when it comes to the housing industry, it's easy to be in my side of things because I have low overhead and because I've had some success and I've made a little bit of money, so I have a fund that helps me through this storm, which for some other people that have a lot of overhead, a lot of employees, and that's one of their greatest overheads is they've had to make some significant cuts or even shut down. On the mortgage side in this industry, 30 to 60% of the industry is basically leaving or shutting down. On the real estate side, residential side, slash sales side, you're looking at about roughly 30%. But someone like me, who's a broker and who has minimal overhead, I put more money into marketing because it's a little bit harder to be able to get that lead, to be able to get that client at this time. It's a little bit easier for me though. So I don't have a lot of overhead. So being able to weather the storm for me, it's all about, I think I told you this at the gym, but the way I told my agents this last week, one of my agents was asking, and so I ended up telling a couple of them. But I said, in order for you to be successful, you have to basically build a structure, and that's an action plan. That's a business plan. That's a roadmap, and you have to follow that for a given amount of time. Let's call it 6 weeks to 12 weeks. You follow that, and something's not working. You're not getting results. Then you have to look at maybe what industry you're in. Maybe you have to look at your specific approach to each element of what you're trying to accomplish within your business plan, and then make those necessary adjustments and course correct from that point, but not give up on the whole
Mm.
thing. So I see people that hear this advice and they're like, yeah, absolutely, action plan, business plan, I'm doing that. But then after like 6 to 12 weeks, they give up. They're like, this is not the business for me. So they give up too quick.
Yeah.
And that over, you said it in the beginning, but that like overnight success, or that individual that is successful, typically in that one business, they have to grind that business out for typically 3 to 5 years. So the way that I look at it, even though I've been in real estate for 7.5 years and had full time experience in that amount of time, I'm really going January 2023. I'm going to grind it out. So I'm basically looking forward to and predicting that it's going to be a grind for a couple of years, and building agents and recruiting the right team members, and making my big goal for Barrena Real Estate Group is to be one of the dominant brokerages in South Orange County, which says a lot because there's some dominant brokerages out there that are closing business even in this economy. And then personally, I have some goals for myself in being one of the dominant agents in Laguna Niguel and surrounding areas around there. So, with that being the case, I'm up for the fight. I'm up for the grind. I just expect that it's going to be a lot harder before it gets easier, which is probably going to be some years from now.
Yeah. So that was my next question: is where do you see it in the next 5, 10 years? So it's obviously, from what you're saying, going to get a lot scarier, and then start heading, leveling out a little bit, and then getting
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. So I read probably 2 to 3 market reports every day on various aspects of what's going on in the economy, especially with real estate in regards to my industry. And pretty much every professional out there, analyst out there, is saying that we've already seen about a 15 to 22% reduction in housing prices, depending on where you're at in the nation. But in this area, about 15 to 22%. And with that being the case, don't see it dropping too much more. And so I look at the economist who went to school for this, and that's all they do is they geek out on data. And I really just try to make a decision based on what they're telling me. And I try to go to the leading economists, not just in the nation, but specifically in Orange County, and try to find out, okay, so where are we at? And I think that with interest rates and what the Fed is trying to do, and they're really trying to, they're saying their language is not, we're trying to create a recession. That's not their language, but that's what they're trying to create, is a recession. And I think it's necessary to a certain extent, but the reality is we're already in multiple different recessions. And theoretically, if you look at the data and the information, we are in a recession. Maybe it's not major, maybe people are blind to it. There's elements of the economy that are doing fairly decent. But with that being the case, I think that probably for the next 12 to 18 months, it's going to be a challenging period for a lot of people. It's not going to be what it was in the financial crisis. Even going back, we've tracked recessions for the last 100 years, and every recession is a little bit different. They're not always the same. So people always look at the last one, the financial crisis, like, man, we're gonna have. I was just reading a market report this morning, and in 2020, if you're familiar with forbearance, that's when someone's delinquent on becoming late on payments, and they need to catch up. Uh, we were at about 1.6 million people that were in forbearance. And it's shifted now and it's changed because we had the CARES Act and other things that basically assisted some people in dire need. But still,
That seems
with
pretty
that
low
one,
to me. That number, 1.6 million. I mean, it's a lot, but it seems low. I mean, is that countrywide?
so that's countrywide. Yeah, 1.6 countrywide. And then as of to date, current forbearance is about 500,000. So we're looking at about 2 million people that are still in forbearance or trying to catch up and headed down that path of foreclosure and maybe even worse. So, with that being the case, I think that things will probably get a little tougher before they get easier, and it's probably going to be about 12 to 18 months. But the only thing that makes a winner to a loser is someone that gives up and someone that doesn't find a way to work around those problems. So
Mhm,
I think that this is a great time to make jumps in not only this industry, but whatever industry that someone is in, is that as long as they're willing to put in the work and know the information. And I feel that the more intelligent I become, especially in this industry, the less I know. Because even if I'm the most understanding and the most knowledgeable person in a particular industry, I probably still only know 1% of all information. I don't know a lot. So we're constantly learning and evolving, and you just have to put in that time in order to be able to stay up to date and build that tough exterior slash skin to be able to say I know what I'm talking about, but there's still so much to learn.
mhm. What would you say to somebody who's getting into the real estate industry right now? I mean, what would your
I,
advice be?
I would say how much it depends on how much capital they have to to use to be able to support themselves for a certain
Mhm,
amount of time. But I think it's a great time to get in the industry. I'm a diehard optimist. Not that I was born that way. I just choose to look at things from an optimistic lens. And I think the reality is if 30% of the industry are on the way out, they're basically giving up business. And there's less business for sure, but there's an opportunity for new individuals to come in with a new creative spin and an idea on an archaic or existing model for a lot of agents. They do a very archaic way of business, not all agents. And the archaic, in a lot of cases, because they've been around for a long time, is really effective for them, but we're in a new age, so there's a lot more things that you can do now to put a creative spin on things. So I think it's a great time to get in real estate. I think it's a great, especially part-time business for someone to get in and invest 20 plus hours a week and develop something so that in the future, if they want to take that full-time route, it's a little bit easier to make that jump. Kind of like with me, that was always in my back pocket. I was always the entrepreneur, but more specifically, the fitness real estate guy. And now I'm just trying to remove myself, which I have for the last 6 months, but remove myself from people's minds
mhm.
as the fitness guy. Even I joined the Laguna Niguel Chamber. I've been a part of them for 3 months, and I'm presenting this next Friday, and they want me to do the Pledge of Allegiance and do a little presentation. And they did a little bio on me. It was funny. I didn't put the bio together, and they said we have Jake Barrena, who's the broker and owner of Barrena Real Estate Group. He's also, I never mentioned this whatsoever. He's also a resident expert on fitness, as he really likes to take care of himself. And I'm like, I never talked about that. It's so funny. I was actually thinking about it this morning when I was at the gym. I was on the treadmill. That's probably why I was looking down. I'm always like internalizing thinking. And I'm thinking like, I don't feel I know I look fit and super sexy. No, I'm just joking. No, I don't feel like I look how people comment about me. I
Mhm,
mean, I don't know how many times I was just at Peaceful Warrior yesterday, and I was sitting along two guys next to me. It was what Max and Jeff, spelled with a G, and they're parents of some kids out there, and they said a comment so like, "What do you do?" And I said, "Real estate." And then something came up about fitness, and one of the guys was like, "Yeah, clearly you take care of yourself." Like, and I'm like, "Really? Thanks, bro." Like, I don't feel that. I
yeah.
have taken care of myself for 39 years practically, but like actively with weights, working out, doing that for 22 years. So for me, it's like even when I left the industry, people were the fitness industry, people were like, you gonna keep working out? Keep working out? Am I gonna keep brushing my teeth?
Am I gonna
Like,
stop breathing? Yeah,
yeah, this is me. Like I'm doing this forever. This is a part of who I am. This is actually what I tried to get you to do, but now that I left, you're
yeah,
not working out. Like you
yeah.
need to work out. It needs to be a daily thing.
Well, I
So
think so many people look at that because they're not there, right? I mean, you just walk out
yeah,
your door and see 50 unfit people. I get the same thing. I'm 49, so I'm 10 years older than
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Sorry. No, I am 49. I just turned 49. Shit. I just turned 49 last month. Um,
Nice.
Anyway, people still think that I'm on juice. Like, I had a guy I roll with, he's like,
That's so funny.
What cycle are you, or what gear are you on?" Like, "What do you mean, what ge," like, I've never done a steroid in my life. I'm scared of needles, one,
Like, you
mainly.
mean my strap on or no?
Yeah, right? He's like, "What gear you on?" Because I was on top of him getting ready to pound him. He's like, "What gear you on?" I'm like, "What do you mean gear?" He's like, "Oh, okay, that's what you tell yourself?" And I tied him up even farther. I'm like, "What?" And he always keeps asking me what phase I'm in or cycle. I'm like, "Dude, if it makes you feel better to think that I'm on roids, then that's okay." But I've always had the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
thing, is like people think that
That's so funny.
I'm always cheating because I've been into fitness since I
Yeah.
was 18, right? I was a skinny work kid, and I was like, you know what? Things are going to change. So I'm
Mhm.
the same thing like you. It's like, do I brush my teeth in the morning? It's like, that's my coffee. If I don't go to the gym, I'm off all day. There's just some, my head's cloudy. It's like, it's just,
For sure.
that's my gym. That's my church. I'm not a religious man, but that's my church.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
Yeah.
joke with it with people too, because another guy is at our jujitsu and he wasn't, the kids were rolling. And I said, "Oh, you're gonna roll later?" And he goes, "No, I gotta go to church." I said, "I'll baptize you right here because that's my church." Um, but yeah, just people
I
who
like that.
people who don't aren't into fitness and don't, and no matter, also have Savage Syndicate
Yeah.
where I'm trying to inspire people to just get off their asses and do something, whether it's a walk around the block. I mean, you don't have to be like us, go to the gym every day and be fitness and or fitness and all, whatever. Just do something. But people don't. People like, maybe a New Year's resolution, they'll get into it, but then 2 weeks later they'll quit, and I don't get it. I don't, and that's my job. My other business is motivating people. One, I want them to go get fit, fit for their health. But two, I want them to start protecting themselves and learn how to do any kind of martial art, whether,
Yeah.
I like jujitsu and Muay Thai and boxing, whatever, but they can pick whatever they want. But you
Yeah.
need to get out there and do something because
Yep.
it's disgusting. Like, I get seriously sad when where were we at? We went somewhere where there was a lot of people, and
Boy.
I get sad. Like, there's so many fat, obese people who can't move, and it's like, I understand if you have some kind of ailment and that you don't have a choice with, but putting a cheeseburger down is a choice, and I just, people are so out of shape, and it changes their
Mhm.
life, and they don't see it that way. They're just like, "Oh, I
Mhm.
was dealt a bad gene, or, it's in my whatever." Screw that. It's like, make an effort
No.
to get off your ass, put the cheeseburger down, drink some water, and do something.
Yep.
But, yeah, I'm I don't know where started that tangent on, but people need to get fit, damn it. Go out there.
Absolutely. How many people beyond the grave, if they had a chance, an opportunity that died from their lack of health, if they can go back and be given more time, which you said
Mhm.
is extremely valuable, to do better, would do better. Like they would
Yeah.
do better for sure. Which it's just the way that we look at ourselves. We see ourselves the way that we are. Other people might look at us and go, "Wow, they look really fit." We just feel average, just
Mhm.
feel normal. That's our normal. And unfortunately, people are just extremely unhealthy, and that's their normal. It's kind of
Yeah.
like when I go on vacation, I get more out of shape because I don't work out as much. I don't go on vacation very often, but I choose to say my vacations are times I don't work out. I sometimes do, but for the most part, it's like my break because I'm working out 6, 7 days a week. So when I go on vacation, it's like I'm taking a break. My muscles, my joints, everything needs a break, and I might drink a little bit of cocktails, have a little bit of sugar, eat some food. And so I come back feeling like everyone else, like, I'm so messed up. And it takes me a few days to bounce back. But the fact that people live that way in
Yeah.
business, and doesn't matter your relationships, whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, that's the opposite of success.
You should
Like
go
you
on
need to
vacation with us. When I was
do that.
I had, well, I surf. I surf more on vacation.
Okay.
So,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I had a jiu-jitsu tournament coming up, and I had to weigh 208. I was at 217 or 218. I went to Cabo, right? I still had some tasty beverages, but I surfed with my son probably 6, 8 hours a day, and I came back, I was
Nice.
like 205. I was like, "I think I'm the only
Dang.
guy who goes on vacation and loses 10 pounds." But, yeah, we just
That's so
surf
funny.
constantly. We have a group of friends out there, we go off the grid, we surf, we come back
I
in
love
town,
it.
we surf, we fish. I mean, yeah, I just,
Awesome.
yeah, I'm with you though, but it's people's way of life. They're 24 hours on vacation as far as eating wise, and it's I
Yeah,
mean, it doesn't help. You walk out your street and there's 15 different fast food places, and just self control, right? I don't know,
absolutely.
But yeah, I don't want to keep you too long here, but
There you go, brother.
we dived into it a little bit about your faith. How
Yeah.
important is that to you and your family? And I know I follow you on social media. I'm an
Mhm.
atheist, and I still listen to your messages, and I respect and appreciate
I
you
love it.
putting it out
I love
there.
it.
So, talk to me a little bit about that, your faith.
Yeah, so for me, that's everything. It's fundamentally the most important thing. It's more important than my wife, than my kids. It makes me me. And if I don't have that, then I'm just lost, abandoned, and broken. And a lot of that has to do with my story. So I've always said that I've lived two different lives. July 15th, 2001, I gave my life to Christ and I decided to live for God. And when I say Christ, I say Christ was human, he did exist, and he also was God. He proclaimed that. And that's another conversation, but taking people down that path is also what I'm passionate about. The reason I think we get along and I get along with most people is I'm not a thumper.
Mhm.
So you got those Bible thumpers. That's just not me. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, not just with the Christian faith, but with faith in general, they have good intentions, but they go about it the wrong way. And I truly believe that we're all different and we all have had different life experiences, different circumstances in our life. And I'm probably not going to change Josh's mind. I'm not going to change someone's mind, but I'd like to hopefully influence people in a positive light. I love to impact people through love, like just simply love. If they want to know more about that love story, then I can tell them about that love story for me and what that is. But prior to changing my life, I was 18 at the time. I was a different person. I wouldn't say a drug addict, but I was a drug user, cocaine, uh, shrooms, acid, weed, drinking. That was me for 6 to 8 years. And I mean, yes, I was 18. So I was doing it since I was uh, 10, 11, 12 years old. And not that I started with those hard drugs, but I have an addictive personality. Like my dad, got that from my dad. So when I do something, I do it hard. So when
Mm.
I started smoking weed, it was like, cool, I'm going to do this every day. And it just became a habit. And so for me, I was very much into the party scene. I was very much at the time still also a leader, but I would lead people in the wrong direction, not the right direction. It wasn't a positive direction. My sport of choice back then was skateboarding. I was pretty good at skateboarding. I got into it when I was in seventh grade by one of my good buddies at the time, Mike Combs. And I got pretty good. I made a little name for myself, at least in Orange County. And the reason that I even moved to Orange County is that my parents got a divorce when I was about one. I don't remember what it was like for them to be together. My dad, who I lived with for a while. And then I also lived with my mom kind of back and forth. My dad was the party animal, and my mom was kind of the goody two shoe at the time, not involved in church, but she was always the good version. My dad is a great guy, but my dad was an alcoholic. My dad was a drug user. My dad, when I lived with him, he let me look at porn when I was like 8, 9, 10, whatever. Like there was no rules. I could stay up as late as I wanted. I just had the flexibility and freedom, which is probably why I'm also an entrepreneur, to do whatever I wanted to do. I got to make my own decisions and to a certain extent had to take care of my dad as I come home. He was diabetic from alcohol and he would be in a diabetic coma. So I'd have to call the paramedics and give him his sugar pills to boost him back up. And this was probably 20 to 30 times, not an exaggeration. My dad's never been that great with health. And thankfully, he's no longer an alcoholic. He stopped drinking probably 20 years ago, but now he's a workaholic. That's his replacement.
Yeah.
But living with my dad, then living with my mom, going back and forth, it was two very polar sides. And I'm sorry, as a young man, I'm gonna wanna I'm gonna wanna do what's fun and free, and that's what my dad was doing. He was the example. So I got in trouble for stealing 12 CDs from I think it was Walmart when I was in sixth grade. And my dad, it's the only time I ever heard my dad cry. He cried and he said, "I'm not going to let your mom know." And I'm an only child to my dad, but not to my mom. I have two half brothers, which I consider them to be full brothers for sure. And My dad said, "I'm not gonna tell your mom." Well, the courts called my mom like 2 months later. Mom found out. Mom's like, "You're moving to Orange County." At the time, I lived with my dad in Santa Ana, Garden Grove, Costa Mesa area. So I kind of was like, lived in that area when I was probably 3, 4, 5, all the way through 12. And then ended up moving down here. I ended up going to um, what was it, La Paz Intermediate School in seventh grade, and that's when I got into skateboarding and doing all that stuff. But basically, I was this wild, free, crazy party animal guy, and to kind of hit the nail on the head because it is a long story, but it was July 4th, 2001, and I had a cast on my foot because I had broken my foot from wrapping my foot around a curb a couple weeks prior. I remember going to the doctor, and I had broken plenty of bones. I've broken 13 bones. So it was just my dad always said a comment, and it's true. You play around, you're gonna lay around. So it was like, oh, I broke another bone. Oh well. The doctor was like, "Are you in pain?" I have a high tolerance for pain. It's a fact. And I said, "Yeah, a lot of pain, doc, a lot of pain." So he gave me some Vicodin. So I started popping those like crazy. I did not realize that the number one side effect of Vicodin was hallucinating.
Mhm.
No idea. So that was not in my mind at all. But I was popping those pills like crazy. I popped, I don't know how many pills were in the bottle, but a very large bottle within, I want to say 7 days, and they were gone. And I was hanging out with my buddies in a ditch, July 4th, 2001. We're smoking some weed, doing no hallucinogenics whatsoever. A few hours prior, maybe 4 or 5 hours prior, I did sniff a little bit of Coke, but not much. And I used to freestyle, I used to rap. I had a rap name, Digest the Best. It's a fact. So we were rapping in this ditch that we graffitied up, and I never
I'm writing that one down.
digested it. So we were rapping in this ditch, and I had this random thought. I honestly believe that it was from not the devil per se, but it was evil. And the thought was, I want to put my hands together and make them melt. I'm on no drugs to make me want to do things like that. And I didn't also think I was on a drug like Vicodin that I overdosed on, that I did not realize the repercussions of what was about to happen. My hands, not really, but really melted together. They formed an A. I don't know the significance of that A. It doesn't matter. It happened, and neon green Christmas trees and Smurfs started flying in the air. I went like this. My heart started racing like crazy. So I started having a panic attack, but I internalized it, kept it to myself. My like 8 of my buddies were like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, "No, I'm cool." And I started rapping just to get my mind off it. That led from July 4th to July 15th to basically an 11-day bad trip. It was awful. Visualize me in my room with posters on my wall swirling, melting off the walls, me sinking into my bed, me then levitating on my bed. I didn't realize I was on anything like Vicodin to make me hallucinate. So it was very real. It was very intense. I was this 18-year-old badass kid, at least badass in my mind, that got in trouble with the law, that had been expelled from 5 schools, that had been suspended 25 times plus, that had a rough upbringing because I chose that path. And I'm going to my mom and my stepdad and go, "Can I sleep in between your bed on the second night?" Because I couldn't hang. My mom's like, "Yeah, sure, baby." My mom's cool with it. My stepdad's like, "What the hell? You want to sleep in our bed?" I was tripping out. I was literally losing my mind. And at the very end of it, there was a lot that happened in that process. One of the nights, the first night, I was hanging out with my buddy. I was like, "Hey, can you stay the night at my house? We have like a sleepover." That was a thing that you used to do back in the day. I don't know if kids still do it, but he's like, "Sure." So he's sleeping on the ground to add some like comfort to my mind. I'm not telling anyone that I'm losing my shit. Like I'm keeping this to myself. So I'm in bed, and the posters on my wall start swirling. The TV disappears that we're looking at in my room, old school little TV with an antennas. And then I see 3 figures that are very crystallized and clear from them swirling, just dish, dish, dish. One was that Hitler eagle, and then one was a swastika. And honestly, I don't remember the third, but all I know, it was so evil. I was like, what? Why? And so I am losing my shit, like, still get goosebumps. I'm losing my shit. I don't know what the hell is going on. In this process, my mom, being a medical in the medical industry. She basically does hospice type work and has for years. I'm like, Mom, I'm having these bad dreams. I don't know what these bad dreams are. Um, I, I, I don't know what I can do to make this better. I'm trying not to tell my mom that I am, I felt like it was karma. Karma was
Mhm.
catching up because I was a bad kid. I would go in department stores and steal pants and steal clothes, and I would break in and it. I was just doing things that were breaking the law. I was doing nothing good with my life. So I thought it was my life catching up to me and going, all right, you're bound for a straitjacket. And that's exactly where I thought I was going. So I went to my mom. My mom's like, "So what's up with those Vicodin pills?" And I said, "They're gone. I ended them last week." And she's like, "Oh, we know the number one side effect of Vicodin. I've had clients, same things happened, bad dreams." And I'm like, "Oh, that's what it is." It was like hope, because the whole time I was going through this 11 days, I had this like fist that was clenched in my heart, at least visually. I believe that was God looking back, but it was like, "You can get through this." I am a fighter by nature. That's a fact. But it was like, just don't let go, keep fighting, because I was literally losing it every day, 24/7, was not sleeping, 11 days. It was like the Holocaust for me. It was just awful. So mom told me that. I started pounding water, stopped drinking weed. It was like 5 days in, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm gonna make it. And it didn't improve anything. Like nothing got better. And at the time, my mom was very involved in the church, Christian church. And I said, "Hey, mom, can you come pick me up from the skate park?" It was a Saturday night, and it was like 7 o'clock. Back in the day, I was a bad kid, 18-year-old kid, so I couldn't have a car and couldn't afford it anyway. So I wasn't allowed to drive. Plus, I was in trouble with the law, so there was that factor too. So ended up getting picked up by my mom, and she was taken back. She was like, "Why do you want to be picked up on a Saturday night?" Which I was homeschooled. I used to stay up every night, legitimately Monday through Sunday night, till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, I just want to be around you. I really just wanted to be around my mom when I was losing it. So there's something special about being around your mom, that comfort, all that.
Mhm.
So she went to a church function. And I remember they were like worshiping, lifting their hands. And I'm like, what the hell is this? It tripped me out. Honestly, it really tripped me out. So I left. I remember I went in the restroom and all the murals on the walls were moving. I'm now losing it, to another degree. I am on the curb out in front. Mom comes out. She's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "These bad dreams are really bad, mom. I'm crying." And I was a hard ass. I had a very hardened heart back then. So I wasn't a crier at all, which is different now. I could cry right now. But so I'm crying, and mom's like, "Let me pray for you." And so she prayed for me. It didn't do anything. I don't even think I listened. Next day, it was Sunday, it was church. And I was like, "There's some hope. I want to go to church." Mom's like, "Take it back. You want to go to church? Like, you don't go to church." Ended up going to church. I remember the pastor speaking. He disappeared on stage. Not really, but he disappeared on stage, and there was prison bars behind him. And these were all the visuals that were like a reality. Again, I was in a nightmare. That was my reality for those 11 days. So I go to the car. I'm just in the car crying profusely, pretty hardcore. And I feel like I'm about to let go, like give up. But I'm like, no, just keep fighting, Jake, keep fighting. But I felt like I was on the brink. Mom comes in the car. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm going to tell you the truth. This is what I've been experiencing. I think it's karma. It's all caught up." And I remember my mom, she was taken back because she didn't really have an answer. She always had an answer, but she had no answer. She just started crying. And I'm like, "Oh, great. Mom doesn't have an answer. Like, I'm literally going to lose it. I'm bound for a padded room with spiders crawling on the wall and blood going down the walls the rest of my life." So we pull into our garage, and she said, "I have someone that can help you." It was literally, it's kind of out of a fairy tale, because I knew nothing about the story of Jesus at all. Maybe I did subconsciously, but I never paid attention when I went to church. Mom would make me go to church sometime, and I would show up high out of my mind. Even actually, when I changed my life around and I met these kids, they were like, "That's the high kid. What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So, anyways, she's like, "There's this person that can help you. His name's Jesus." And I'm like, "Okay, like literally in my mind, let's go meet him. He's a doctor." No, Jesus is God, and this is what he did for you. You just have to commit to him, and he will change your life. Literally, she gave me a 90-second, she didn't get all technical. It was a 90-second, like, I'm crying, my eyes are all watery. She's crying, same thing. So I prayed a prayer with her, July 15th, 2001, and literally instantly after we got done praying, walk in the house, and I had this overwhelming sense of confidence, like, I'm gonna make it through this. And everything that I was seeing, which again, I was the one living in me, I was the one experiencing this. So when I tell someone, and I've told this story hundreds, if not thousands of times, they can take it for what they want. That's fine. This is my life experience. All of it went away. All the visuals, all the craziness, it all went away. It I felt like it was very demonic and very satanic what was in my life at that time. I do believe there's a war going on between good and evil, and I was experiencing a lot of evil, and God had released that from me. And I remember this was a big thing to me. She said, "Hey, we got to go walk our dog." And I remember I had a pack of smokes that I used to smoke Parliament full flavors. And I said, "No, mom, I got this. I'm going to walk the dog myself." I know I'm 18 years old, doesn't sound like a big thing. I was terrified to be alone, terrified. So I get out there. I remember smoking my cigarette and I was like, why do I do this? So Christians believe that once you accept Jesus, that Jesus comes into your life, that he gives you his Holy Spirit, which is also Jesus. It's the whole thing, the Trinity. Basically, I then realized that that wasn't for me. I flicked the cigarette and I'm like, I'm done smoking. I get in my room and I just do this kind of crazy thing where I'm like, man, I got all these bongs and all this paraphernalia and this porn and all these clothes and everything that I've ever stolen. I'm like throwing things into trash bags. My mom's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm giving my life to Jesus, like 100%. And so I am literally just taking over. I literally clean my life out and I shut my friends out, which I think is key because whether someone comes to the faith or not, I have seen a lot of people try to change that are either alcoholics or they have some sort of addiction and they stay in that life. And
Mhm.
I literally cut that life. I was like, done. Nope, not doing this. And my friends around me, then they actually started to think I was losing my mind because I shut them out for months until I gained a lot of confidence. And
They
honestly,
didn't
also
think you were losing your mind when you were losing your mind. They thought you were losing your mind when you found
after the
Jesus.
fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when I gave my life to Christ, literally all the things that I was seeing and experiencing 100% went away. 100% went away. You can chalk that up to whatever you want, but I believe that was God. He took it away from me. He delivered me from that pain and that anguish. And my life was literally headed nowhere. I was not bound for college. I was not bound for success. I was bound for a straitjacket. That's a fact. So the fact that it happened so quickly, but there was still a process for a couple of years, to be honest, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, where I really had to have faith in God. That's what made me so strong because I had fear that it was going to come back. I'm like, wait, it's like not Chucky, not Jason, who's Freddy Krueger. It's like I
Okay.
don't want to go to sleep. I don't
Yeah.
want to go to sleep because he's gonna kill me. I was afraid it was going to come back. But that's why I grew so strong in my faith because as long as I stay strong in that, I can be assured, biblically speaking, from what the Bible says, from what God says, I believe God says, that He will take care of you. So that's where that strength comes from. That's why I am who I am. I'm a devout Christian in the sense that there's no turning back. Like
Mhm.
I'm headed one direction. I know I took some time to.
No, you're good, you're good. How does your mom is how does she feel about it now?
She was so taken back. Everyone in my life that knew me, from friends to people who disliked me because I was who I was, all taken back. I am a completely different person, 100%. And I married a woman, my wife, who I love, who I adore, who was a virgin and who didn't do any drugs, who didn't party, who didn't do any of that stuff. So I am the opposite of my wife. So, I wouldn't have had any of this. I wouldn't have had kids. I wouldn't have wife. I wouldn't have business. I wouldn't have anything that I have if it wasn't for the fact that I made that decision July 15th, 2001, because I would be insane. I'd probably be dead. It's a
Yeah.
fact. Yeah.
Wow, that's an incredible story. We have a lot in common. I got into a lot of crazy shit when I was young
Mm,
too. What saved
mm,
me was surfing. When a
Mm,
lot of people wanted to stay up all night and party, I was like, "No, there's a swell coming. I'm out," and I would leave. And it literally, friends have died and friends have done some crazy shit, and surfing is what kept me um,
mm.
out of a lot of bad stuff. So I
Mm.
thank you for sharing that story. That's awesome. I
For sure,
really
brother. Yeah,
appreciate that.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're up pushing an hour here, but I want to wrap up real quick. The question I had was, what advice would you give yourself to 21-year-old Jake? But let's push that back since you started at 18, found Christ and everything. What would you tell
Yeah.
yourself at 18 right now? Like, hey, young Jake, 18 years old, full of piss and vinegar, just found Jesus, ready to conquer the world. What would your advice be to yourself, young Jake?
It's easy to slow down, do less. Slow down and do less. The advantage I have with questions like that is I ask those questions all the time,
Yeah.
almost on a daily. And I think I would do less and know that it's a marathon and it's not a sprint. Even if I don't make it till tomorrow, this life is a process. And it's like everyone's in it for the quick transformation. Like, I want to make the quick buck. I want to make the quick transformation. It's not. You basically, doesn't matter when you'll get there. You just put the blocks in place in order for you to get there. Because you
Mhm.
can't just like wish and dream and hope and pray, like, I hope I get there, but you're doing nothing for that. You need to put the blocks in place and just know it's going to take time. I wish I would have just I got my head on straight fast when I was 18,
Mhm.
extremely fast. I went from this guy to going in this direction, totally changed my life around. And even looking back in my 20s, I'm like, man, I wish I would have known what I know now. And that would be one of them, which is just slow down. You don't have to conquer the world. Because of your age and my age, I've been doing this and you've been doing this for a long time, and trying to be an entrepreneur when especially now, 18 years ago, people weren't doing that. But now everyone's trying to be an entrepreneur, and they think that, there's a formula that just allows you to be successful. And there's formulas, but the only real formula is put in the work and give
Mhm.
it time. Put in the work and give it time.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I think of. I couldn't believe I was 49. I gotta go check that. But that's what I say is fall in love with the process, not the result,
Yeah.
right? Like you're saying, slow down, enjoy it. You're
Yeah.
obviously gonna have some bumps in the road, but it's all part of the process. And I agree with you on that one.
You definitely have to be passionate on what you're doing. I think the only way that you can do that is you have to be immensely passionate. One of the
Mhm.
things that I tell entrepreneurs that are interested in becoming entrepreneurs or starting a business is mere two things. One is, what are you passionate about? You need to do that.
Mhm.
And then, how much money do you want to make? Because you might be passionate about something, but if you take that path, maybe that path will only lead on average to $100,000 a year income. Do you want that? Or you want $1 million? You need to readjust your passion then. Or you might not be passionate about something, but it leads to the money, but you're going to lead a very unfulfilling life. So I think passion and how much do you want to make in life financially, as far as business, entrepreneurship, those two things you have to mirror.
I love it. That
Yeah.
right there is a great point to end the podcast. But I want to
Yes, sir.
say two things. What I liked
Yeah.
about it, I mean, we really I had questions that we didn't even get to because I think what the flow that we had right now was so awesome.
It's
Uh,
good.
digest the beast, or yeah, digest
Digest the
the
best.
best. I want to hear some rap tomorrow at the gym. But I
Not
love
happening.
you said this early on: faith, love, and entrepreneurship. I think those are great. I think that's kind of like the sums up the whole because we touched on everything: your faith, your entrepreneurship, and the love of life that you have. I think that's a great.
Mhm.
If you could somewhere put that on your backdrop right there, I think that's a great motto right there, and it describes you perfectly. So,
Thanks,
how
brother.
can people reach out to you if they want to buy a home or somehow get inspired by you? Where can they find you?
So you can either reach me directly at 949-350-2873, or you can just look up Jake Barrena on Google, and I have enough platforms and enough websites and stuff like that will all pop up for sure. So Jake Barrena, Barrena. That's the
Perfect.
best way to find me.
And I'll put some links in the below in the subscription,
Sweet,
all that fun stuff that they say.
sweet.
But Jake, I appreciate it. I know you got a big day
For sure,
ahead of you.
brother.
I
For
appreciate
sure,
the
brother.
time, and you were awesome, brother. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, brother.
All right, brother. I'll see you
Thanks,
tomorrow
man.
at the gym.
Yes. I like.
See ya.